Honor to join General David Petraeus.
And honor is mine, Doctor, and thanks for what you did back in the day in Iraq.
Thank you so much. I'd like to focus this video for our veterans who are listening right now and potential employers to veterans. As of the date of this recording, there are 1.8 million veterans who are working at a rate, despite their skills, of $15 an hour or less. And you know, looking at you, you've been at the highest levels of leadership in the military, CENTCOM, you've been at the highest levels of leadership in the government, you've spearheaded our national security, and now you're extremely successful in business and private equity. Do you have any tips for some of the veterans who are leaving the service right now and maybe struggling in that area?
Yeah, sure. First of all, veteran unemployment now is actually way below the national average, which is great. That's a true milestone, because just a couple of years ago it was a good bit higher. Second, though, you raised a key point, and that is that a lot of our veterans are employed but underemployed. They're not being all that they could be. And I think that veterans, when they get out, especially those with families, obviously feel a bit anxious. They're wondering where the salary is going to come from, and often jump on the first opportunity that walks by the door, rather than trying to find a career opportunity, not just a job. And the difference is that a career is one where the firm wants to have you progress. They provide training, education, mentoring, veterans affinity groups, all of that. So they're really investing in the person, not just taking. And again, paying some hourly wage that, as you said, sometimes can be less than $15 an hour. Now, those kinds of career opportunities, jobs that really offer that type of opportunity, are not always easily found. But actually, with the unemployment rate as low as it is right now, below 4%, they're certainly more easily found than they were even just a few years ago. But, I had to go out and hustle. I spent months meeting people, going up to New York. I'd spend an entire week up there, and I'd have meetings all day and lunch and dinner. And I was very fortunate to have a number of different offers, but when the one that was really the one that I ultimately took, with KKR, a large private equity investment firm, when that came along, it really didn't manifest itself immediately. I mean, I did something like 20 interviews in the firm, in part because I think all of a sudden they said, we can do something more with him, not just have him senior advisor, we can make him the chairman of the KKR Global Institute, build the geopolitical risk element, partner that with the macroeconomic analysis, environmental, social governance issues analysis teams. And I was fortunate, obviously, to have a PhD in a combination of economics and international relations, and I had taught both of those. But again, it took a lot of hustling. And what I was trying to do was just be sure that when somebody said to his buddy in the financial world there, or whatever other world that might have been interesting, that he said, do you know anybody that could fit this particular position? They said, Petraeus. I just met with him the other day. I don't think he's signed with anybody yet. And so I think that's what has to happen. You also, I think, have to realize that, just because you are the commander of the surge in Iraq, or CENTCOM, or the director of the CIA, or a first sergeant or a platoon sergeant, a successful leader at whatever level, that doesn't mean you're going to be qualified to step right in and be the senior leader or the equivalent leadership position in a business firm. Again, not all of our skills, my skills as an infantryman didn't necessarily translate directly into the business world. And that is a challenge for a number of our individuals. Some certainly have very marketable skills. I mean, you obviously we need doctors wherever.
I think in that way it was easier for me. It translated directly from doctor in military to doctor in civilian. Sure. But I think when you're an infantryman or anyone else out there listening, I think this is an important message. Like, don't get discouraged. Even the general had to hustle, do over 20 interviews, And
well, that's 20 interviews just with one firm.
With one firm. So
I did multiple other interviews
right.
with many other firms, and as it sort of came down to the ones I was really interested in, thankfully a little bidding war started and so forth.
Right.
But again, that took a number of months to materialize.
And I'm also hearing you say,
and I did. By the way, I didn't know the financial business. I mean, I didn't know. It took me a while to realize the difference between private equities and public equities. You know, these are the ones you can buy in the stock market. These are privately held. I didn't dare ask anybody.
Right.
But, you know, over time then, of course, you figure out where you can contribute. But, you know, I still bust my butt. I was in 22 different countries last year alone. And in one of those 22 was there something like 7 or 8 times, the UK. So I am all over the world still, traveling constantly. Fortunately, get home on most weekends. But that's what it takes, and you've got to, again, you can never stop hustling.
So the hard work is the same as the military, and the other characteristics, courage, integrity, loyalty, all that.
Sure, all the same, you know, qualities, attributes, right. and so forth. It's the same in a good firm.
And then you're saying it's not just immediate battle, but think of your career long term.
Sure.
So that first job may not be it. That may not be the right one for the veteran listening.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
But again, as the veteran gets skills and knowledge and training and education in these new pursuits, I think inevitably they will show that they bring so much that's very special
right.
To these kinds of positions. That, I mean, these are individuals that obviously have faced some pretty substantial challenges out there. Very adaptive, tough, frankly barbaric enemies at times. Brutal weather. Think about the mountains in Afghanistan or the deserts in the summer, the deserts of Iraq, the cities of Iraq, for that matter. You know, 150, 120 degrees and keep driving on. There's a lot to be said for that. And again, that kind of work ethic, that kind of again, of loyalty, of faith in one another, teamwork, pitching in, you know, there's no I in team, all of these different, again, skills, experiences, areas of expertise and so forth, I think turn out to be very, very important to firms. So, you know, I'm privileged at KKR also to be the chairman of the Vets at Work program. And so KKR is a large investment firm, over $190 billion under management. We own somewhere probably around 150 companies, depending on how you define that. And a number of those, obviously, in the United States. And those companies have hired something like 60,000 veterans and spouses in the 5 years or so that I've been chairman of Vets at Work. And it's quite simple. The firms understand very quickly, once they've hired a number of veterans, that it's not just the right thing to do to hire a veteran, it's the smart thing to do. It's the smart thing to do from a business perspective, not just from a moral obligation to those who have raised their hand and taken an oath during the time of war.
So this video is extremely important, not only for the supply side, the veterans coming in, but the demand side, the employers out there who need good employees.
Sure,
and,
absolutely. And again, especially when unemployment is as low as it is right now, and the competition for good people is as fierce as it is, again, I think veterans are always attractive. I think they're especially attractive.
And I think this is a matter of national security too, in the sense that if the military is recruiting, and the recruits need to know that they'll be taken care of when they come back, and they'll have good opportunities for good jobs afterwards. So as an employer, you're making an impact for our entire nation by hiring a veteran and putting a message out there that, you know, we're looking out for you.
Right. Sure. And I mean, it's also the Veterans Administration has to take care. I mean, we have a lot of obligations for those who I think have served our country in the time of war. And, you know, I very much believe that these individuals are America's new greatest generation. In fact, Tom Brokaw, who wrote the book about America's greatest generation, the World War II generation, was with us in Mosul early in 2003, saw all that our soldiers were doing, and at the end of that day, he grabbed me and said, you know, General, that World War II crowd may have been the greatest generation, but surely those soldiers who have seen you today are part of America's new greatest generation.
Excellent.
And I very much believe